TJ Ware here with Doug Quinn and Heather Shafter of the USDR. So Doug, he actually lost his home in Superstorm Sandy. What year was that, Doug?
2012, coming up on the 10-year anniversary.
And how long did it take you to get back in that house?
Almost 7 years.
So Doug has done a lot of advocacy work with legislators and regulators to make sure that other people aren't a victim of insurance fraud like he was. And now he also reaches out to victims of natural disaster to help them work through their trauma and get on the path to recovery.
That is correct.
So tell us a little bit about the USDR.
United Survivors Disaster Relief was a project that's really a hobby, I guess, for us, because people, when we lost our home, came from all over the country to help our community. And it meant a lot to us to have people,
we wanted to pay it forward.
Yeah, so we do what we can to pay forward. And, so USDR was a way. It started out very cool with a bunch of Sandy survivors throwing stuff in a van and driving down to Texas for Hurricane Harvey. And Heather and I were both down there. And as time's gone on, it's gotten more formal. We've gotten a 501c3 so that the donations are tax deductible. We gave it the name. Heather designed this beautiful logo, all of this gear with her branding company. And now we have a sort of a system in a way that we deploy to storms.
We're survivors helping survivors. So we'll bring people in with us who maybe experience PTSD or experience a natural disaster themselves or 9/11, anything like that. And it helps with the healing process.
Are you able to connect better specifically with hurricane victims because you've been through similar trauma?
No, I think trauma is trauma. I think I'd say beyond hurricane, I'd say natural disaster. Although there are many other types of trauma. I mean, you've been through some yourself with your war experience. We have others first respond. But I know for us, we tend to connect more with people who are victims of natural disasters because we've lived through it. We know exactly what's going to happen, exactly what they're going to go through, the kind of symptoms they're going to see. So yes, trauma is trauma to a degree, but obviously the natural disaster is what we went through. So that's where we feel like we do a little bit more for the people when we're on the ground.
What kind of things is the USDR doing out there on the front lines?
So we're providing, right now we came in to do damage assessment and provide financial aid and also help in the immediate aftermath of the storm. We went looking for missing people.
And we'll do some other stuff as the storm progresses. So part of it is bringing in supplies. That's outreach for us. We will give people some financial assistance. We will do micro granting for people that are helping. We do see for every disaster, we're not big fans of the large nonprofits. We all know who they are, but we like the small grassroots organizations. So we were able to, get a little bit of micro grant for Cal, a couple of our friends who are here that are helping people
that are boots on the ground.
People that we know personally and we've witnessed and we know their values are in the right area and they're here to help the community. Because somebody like that, a small grassroots organization, there's no salary, it's all volunteer. Somebody like that, you can give them $1 and they'll get $10 worth of effort out of it to help survivors.
Yeah,
Right.
the money is going to go to the people.
Right.
If you guys tell the viewers how they can support you guys at USDR, and I'm also going to turn some of this over to Cal Spoon with Cal is always on the front lines out there, insurancebusters.net, and he's got a site for Hurricane Ian here. Cal's always showed up with a smoker. I think the first time we all did this was probably in Nashville in 2020 in March.
Yep.
That tornado, and we fed people and we served people and we went out there and helped people.
We were out in the neighborhoods helping clean up neighborhoods. I think it was actually the first volunteer work that we did together with the Ware family.
Yeah.
So it was the last thing before COVID shut everything down. It was the Nashville tornadoes in March of 2020.
So if you're interested in donating, you can visit our website at unitedsurvivorsrelief.com or our Facebook page at United Survivors Disaster Relief.
Hello, everybody. Show them your boots.
Woo.
Those beautiful boots. Look at those. Look at that.
Fancy.
If you donate enough, you can get a pair of boots just like so. What are y'all talking about? What are we chatting about?
We're talking about some of the effort that United Survivors Disaster Relief does, and one of the things we're doing is giving micro grants to people like yourself who come into this area and really know how to help people that are boots on the ground. One of the things we love about Cal, his wife Melanie, is one of the things
Yes,
we really
I
love
was
about
gonna
Cal.
say that.
But Cal, personally, one of the things we really love is he is a true leader. He leads from the front. He's not sitting home cushy and deploying his people. Cal is here, boots on the ground, handing food to people, helping people out, and we know to look for those signs. You come to a cat zone, there's a lot of organizations and a lot of people that we don't necessarily agree with what they're about, or that are just for show. A lot of them are there just to sort of use it to raise money. We see when we are boots on the ground, who else is boots on the ground? Who else is leading from the front? And certainly, Cal is one of those
Not
people.
looking to see what's in it for them.
Correct.
I think as a community, it's important to signal out and identify those things because you have people that are going to come in here and just to be clear before, for the local people that may see this at some point in time, there comes a stigma when people come in from out of town that those people coming from out of town are carpetbaggers or whatever you want to call them, and that they're here for Johnny Come Lately. What must be
A
understood.
little bit louder, Cal.
Sir?
A little bit louder.
What must be understood is that there was not enough contractors and public adjusters and folks here to handle the inflow of work that was here prior to the hurricane. So to expect those same people that could not handle the workload prior to the hurricane coming to be able to handle the hurricane now is insanity. It's absolute insanity. So what you need to do is understand that if you don't want to wait a year and a half to get your stuff done by the local people, and you want to move quicker, you're going to have to get some other personnel to help. In that endeavor, that's where you start to look for the things that Doug's talking about. People that came to this community and they put from their own pocket first. They literally came out, they gave from their heart, they gave from their pocket, they brought from their company, they brought their people out. That's a massive investment. Right now, when you're looking at this little thing that we've got going on here, you're looking at $1 million sitting in this parking lot right now to be able to do what we're doing, and then to fund this thing all day long, every day, and do what we're supposed to do. That's a $10,000 a day thing.
And by the way, to be fair, out of that $1 million, $12.75 of it is USDR's net worth. We are a shoestring organization.
But
Say a good 13.
the shoestring
We'll
organizations
round it
are
up.
the ones that hold the world together. The big corporations have so much stuff going on, so much political correctness, things that they can do, the things that they can't do. We're not hindered by those things, and we can come out and do just like we're doing. Get right in the middle of their affected most. Feed them, empathize with them, have compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So many shirts soaking wet from tears.
I will tell you that I know that when we lost our home and we saw all these people from all over the country send donations and show up to help, that meant a lot because we're from New Jersey. We just don't think anybody likes us. You know what I mean? And when
Generally, they don't.
right, and when you go through a disaster, people suffer in silos. It's very isolating. It's very lonely.
Suffering silence.
And what happens is when you see people come from out of state and organizations come from out of state and they're there to help, it means so much, just emotionally. It's so much toward mitigating that loneliness and that isolation that comes from suffering.
And a lot of times they don't feel like they're deserving. When we go in and bring donations, they're like, no, we don't need anything. And then we get to talking to them and sharing our story with them. And it comes out and they really do need stuff. Yeah.
They open up.
Yeah. And you'll see,
Proud people.
Yes.
Americans in general, proud people.
we see that all the
And
time.
we're afraid that our neighbor, Mr. Smith, may see that our life is not quite as rosy as we make it to be.
Right.
And then that pride becomes something that harms us and harms our family. For what we're doing. If you're hungry, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you're at, I don't care what you've got going on. Get here. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be here at least that long in this location, meeting every single day from 11 to 2. Good food, not a bologna sandwich from the Salvation Army. Thanks
We
for the
just
sandwich.
we just showed up here at 7:00 at night to get some of that good food because we've been eating garbage. That's what happens when you're out in the field. And we're like, we know Cal could smoke some meat, so we
We
showed
had
up.
a brisket roll up.
We just
Well,
got done.
you
You
tell
could probably
folks,
still
I
see
have-
some in my beard.
I have Texas brisket. You have Texas brisket? Yes, we have Texas brisket. That's what we're smoking. But back to the subject of the out of town help. Look at the people that came in and gave first, and then give those folks a try. It's a very simple. Well, you're gone. The cameraman went
We're
red. Well,
back.
sunburned. Yeah, see, it's not easy. We're sunburned. We're hot. This is not an easy task to do at all for anybody that's involved.
And we appreciate you resisting the urge production crew not to just zoom in on Heather. I mean,
I know, right? Sorry, guys.
They put the
I
blonde
feel
in the
like you
middle.
guys are really handsome.
Yeah, but the guys that are watching this doesn't care about me.
You guys just sit there and look pretty. I'll handle this.
and to speak to Cal's point, because there's a lot of mistrust in areas of outsiders. Even as a disaster relief organization, just giving people things for free, they hear the Yankee accent and they're like, "Oh, you're not from Louisiana."
You hear me say
You know.
coffee.
Yeah. So, and there's a little bit of mistrust, and then I think that carries through. One of the things Cal was saying is people use this word storm chasers for the construction and the restoration professionals, the attorneys, the public adjusters in a derogatory way. And I will say this, first of all, nobody ever calls the Red Cross storm chasers. Nobody ever calls the National Guard storm chasers. These are people that show up when you need them. And what I will say, and we're not involved in the restoration business. We have no dog in this race, but I will tell you, having been to disasters all over the country, the guy in Lake Charles, Louisiana, 5 houses a year, is not getting 50,000 structures rebuilt. He's not getting those families home anytime soon. Yes, he will do his part to bring in outside capacity because you do not have the organic capacity in your area. And I'll tell you what, when we watch these guys go through and these ladies go through, they live in incredibly difficult conditions. And basically, they're here sleeping on floors. There's no electricity. A lot of them will go out of their way not to take hotel rooms away from the victim, so they will bring their own little campers and trailers. We've seen people sleeping in trucks, in tents, and they go through a lot to help you and your family get back home. And I will tell you, I've been in my for almost 7 years. How brutal what people go through the longer that they're displaced from their home. So I think we have to put that. I've seen law enforcement and elected officials and CFO say things like these outside people coming in, and you should just do business with local people. And I will tell you the truth. There is no zip code that makes you any more honest than anyone else in another zip code, just because you're local. I personally had somebody who is a respected, vetted contractor for 20 years in my hometown try to take advantage of us. Just because they're local does not make them honest. There's no, here's this zip code that just where all the honest people come from. The reality is that we need to respect the people that are coming in from out of state and make sure we're showing them some love and support and some appreciation, because without them, nobody gets back home. You'll be rebuilding for 20 years.
And
But you locals, don't take this the wrong way, because certainly nobody's attacking you
Not at all.
at all, and nobody's trying to take your work. We're simply trying to ease the burden for anybody that needs it. You've got plenty of work, and it's almost as bad as winning the lottery if you're not careful. With the new laws that Florida's put in place in the last couple of years, what can actually, and it's a good thing, if you sign too many claims up, whether you're a restoration person or you're a PIA, you sign too many claims up and you can't perform them, then there's going to be some massive repercussions legally. It's not just about the insurance, it's not just about whatever. You put yourself in jeopardy when you take on more claims that you can handle, whether you're building them, whether you're adjusting them. Either way, if you have and you now have 100 jobs and you still have the same 5 people, you've won the lottery. Now you've got all this money that's fixing to come in, but with that money comes a lot of trouble, a lot of responsibility, and people's lives. There's a life attached to every single dollar that this claims comes out of. So when we quit looking at it on that value and look at it as opposed to what the claim is to that human being, everything changes in our outlook that we have on life and what's going on changes, and that carries us over into what we're doing. Killing me. That screen keeps changing. I'm not sure where to look. What's going on? What am I supposed to be looking at? But I want to make sure that the locals know that nobody's trying to bash on you. And I think even when I think it was Petronas that said it, I think that it was taken out of context. And I haven't actually seen the whole thing yet, but I think what he was saying is that there's an element of these people that are coming that aren't criminals. I don't quite think that they said that the whole people were criminals, but I could be wrong.
I'm
I'm
gonna
try to err on the side of.
I'm gonna screw on my APA hat for a minute here, the American Policyholder Association, and I'm quite curious as why we didn't hear the CFO talk about the element of the insurance industry who are criminals, because certainly fraud happens aside, and I'm always suspicious when I see somebody, especially a regulator who's in the position to defend the consumer, who's only pointing the finger at one side and is not holding the insurance industry, the adjusters, the third party administrators, and the engineers that they hire to come in and help with claims accountable, because we see just as much crime with them as we see with any other segment of the population. Yet we see a lot of regulators who are asleep at the wheel, or perhaps intimidated or afraid, or perhaps they're concerned about campaign contributions where they're not going after the insurance industry. And the general public needs to be protected from insurer fraud just as much as any other kind of fraud. And we are here to hold them accountable to make sure that they do just that. You are elected or hired and paid to protect the public from all forms of fraud, all forms of crime, all forms of being cheated. We don't expect you to just look at one segment of the problem. We expect 360-degree responsible enforcement to make sure that the people of Florida are protected.
Thank you, guys. We look forward to continuing to rebuild here, work with USDR, the APA, and Cal and I will be out here feeding people for, how long are we going to be feeding people for, Cal?
As long as it takes.
Well, then that means that's how long we'll be here.
Usually when all of the media leaves and when all of the people that Doug is talking about are out of here, what's left are people like myself, TJ, Doug,
Yeah.
when all of the cameras and all of that stuff is gone, we remain here and we continue to do what we're doing. I will touch on one last thing that Doug brought up. You have a situation in Florida where you've had 6 insurers go insolvent. 6 insurers went insolvent. In my opinion, there's only really 2 ways for an insurance company to become insolvent. Number one is mismanagement of funds. It doesn't have anything to do with an insured or the claims that were filed. They're just horrible business people. The other one would be an intended insolvency, meaning that we intend to go bankrupt and then we intend to go over to another state and open up the same book of business and do the exact same thing that we're doing before, thereby forcing the insureds of Florida to go to a last resort insurer. UPC just crested 1 million policies. So if we look at FEMA came about because the insurance companies refused to insure flood. So we brought the federal government in to do so. If you look at the blueprint of what happened there to get FEMA in there, the blueprint is coming real again here in Florida, and the insurers becoming insolvent, the policies going to UPC. Remember, UPC is a quasi-government entity.
Citizens,
which
I
means
think
that they have,
correct?
or citizens. I'm sorry, I had said the wrong name. Make sure that we clean that up on it if we can. Citizens, but it's a quasi government institution, which means that the recourse for the insured when they do commit fraud upon them, it's limited like it is with FEMA. Think about FEMA when you go to sue FEMA. It's doable. It's a much more difference between a private insurer.
They have what's called the doctrine of sovereign immunity, so they're scot-free.
Yes.
And Cal talks about the 2 different kinds of, the planned insolvency or incompetence. We have been studying the Florida markets, and we see evidence of both. And our question is, Florida hasn't had a major hurricane since 2018, Hurricane Michael. Where is all that money? Where did all those millions of dollars of premiums go? Hundreds of millions of dollars of premiums go that they've been collecting. Now suddenly they're going insolvent. Prior to Irma in 2017, they hadn't had a major hurricane since, I believe, it was about 12 years. Where did all that money go? And I would say that anytime a company is placed into insolvency, the first thing of the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation should be doing is an audit, a detailed audit to see what they have done with their profits. And I will tell you, if you did that, because we have done some looking, you would be quite surprised where that money's gone.
Maybe it went to some politicians to go out and say that maybe you shouldn't be hiring the only people in the world that could
who stand by you and help you when you go against a $1 billion insurance company. I would
But we're all
tip
standing
my
for the
hat
same
notion.
thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to get on camera. If y'all need us, we're insurancebusters.net, Paradise Claims, Doug and Heather with
United Survivors
United
Disaster
Survivors
Relief.
Disaster Relief, and the APA. All of these people, I'm an insured. Everybody's watching this video or will watch this video is an insured. What we must understand is that we're insureds before we're public adjusters, before we're contractors, before anything else. Negative legislation, insolvency, they affect every single one of us. If you don't understand, the people that got hit with this hurricane are going to understand, because many of the insurance companies will continue to go under. And it will not be because that storm chaser's coming in. It will not become because a PA. A PA can't make an insurance company pay more than they owe. So if I can't make you pay more than you owe, then how in the world am I the bad guy by making you pay simply what it was that you owed? So these things are going to come into play, and I believe with the data from this event, to be able to answer your question. Why are you going insolvent? Is it you mismanaged the funds? Is it because it was planned? What is the result of that? And the documents that we need to tell that are going to be the claims files. The claims files are going to tell us what they're doing and why. And I have every intention of making sure that that happens.
And I would say for everybody on the carrier side, just be conscious. We are here. We are watching. We see the same circus happen with people getting cheated on their insurance claims with every disaster. And we're here keeping records and observing, gathering and preserving evidence. And this will be the storm that you don't get away with it.
God bless you all. We'll see you around. Protect the insured.